Conducting an interview with an expert is a really good idea because it can help you both gain a deeper understanding of the science that you're attempting to make a game out of, and it can also get any kind of questions that you have about the fundamental mechanics of the topic answered very quickly, and often in a conversation it's a lot easier to sort of find the answers that you need. So there are 4 things that I recommend when you are doing an interview. The first is to seek an overview. So this is in terms of like just in general, as much as possible, just outline how the science topic that you're looking into sort of works, both in terms of the information, like the data gathering, and then what can be done with the knowledge that is generated from the data. So, for example, with Virtual Reef Diver, the overall picture that I managed to gain, and again, we're not trying to go super deep into how everything works, because these things take many years to gain an ultra comprehensive understanding of, but we're just trying to find out like what are the main kind of pillars that make it work. So with reef diving, it was going out to the reef to gather data, either with equipment or specialized submersible equipment, or with satellites, or with going down with sort of pens that operate underwater, which is pretty cool. Getting photographs, categorizing and sort of counting the number of different types of creatures. And then back at the lab, or back at the university, processing that data to try and figure out sort of how the numbers of populations and where things are growing and shrinking, and then trying to collate that data across an entire reef. And then what can be done with that data is can be used to sort of to plan where resources should be deployed, and to see what's going to look for trends and what will happen in the future, and possibly develop solutions to upcoming problems. And so getting an overall understanding of how it works sort of starts to get a picture of what the loop might start to be, which I'll explain next in on identifying mechanics. But one good thing to do at this stage is also during the overview is if there's anything that sounds particularly kind of like interesting and you go, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds like a main part of what is going on and how this sort of topic operates. That's when you can ask some more sort of technical questions. So with the categorizing of organisms, I was like, okay, so is it sort of like coral and fish and other things? And of course the answer was quite a little more complicated than that, but through that question was how we got the main categories, so of hard coral, soft coral, algae, invertebrates, marine mammals, fish, and there are obviously more, but those are the main ones that we managed to get. So through the step 1 of seeking an overview. The next one was to ask guided questions. So I've already sort of covered this in the previous point, but this also means once you have a little bit of experience in identifying mechanics, you can start to sort of ask guided questions about what mechanics are emerging from the discussion, and then you can ask questions that help you define those mechanics early. So that's sort of one thing you can do. We'll cover it more in the next video, but you can keep that in mind if you see that before going and doing your interview. So then we try and look at the fundamental activities and interactions. So there's obviously with reef science, there's diving, there's data gathering, there is processing information afterwards, and then there is developing and implementing kind of techniques or practices or interventions or policies based on that data. So in this case, it's sort of gathering data, seeing what that means, and then doing something about it. And that's good. Like, that's sort of the fundamental activities and mechanics that we can use to make a game out of. The final point in this step is to check your understanding. So if there's anything that's confusing to you, or that could use a bit more explanation, that you've read or that you don't quite understand, the interview is an excellent place to ask those questions, and you absolutely should. Going in to make a game out of a science topic, there's going to be lots of things that you're not quite sure about. I know myself, it's always a crash course in in something I'm developing a much deeper understanding of. And remember, you're not trying to become you won't be able to become as learned about the topic, but you can also come back to a person you've interviewed later in the game design process and say, like, hey, like, what do you think about this? Like, does this make sense? Is there anything that I'm missing that might contribute to the mechanic and make the game more fun in the end? Because the closer you can design the game to the science topic, then the more useful and educational it will be. Alright? So that was conducting expert interviews, and the next one will be about identifying mechanics based on what you've learned about your topic.